Welcome to About the Winelands. In this show, we will be chatting to leaders, influencers, wine producers, restaurants, and other role players. Tune in every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday for your latest episodes. You will find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram TV, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast. Hi everyone, welcome back to About the Winelands. Today I'm chatting to Bertus Basson, famous chef from Stellenbosch here in the Winelands. Bertus, welcome to About the Winelands.
Well, it's good to be here, man.
Yeah, crazy times you're living in, right? Like you said to me before we started recording, it's the longest time you've thought you'd sit down and not really be able to do anything.
We are living in unprecedented times, definitely. And, the reality is we're not the first people in the world that have seen any hardship. So our parents and grandparents have faced world wars and, the end of apartheid and it's just like crazy things, recessions, depressions. So we too will overcome this. And every time there's been something that's changed the world, there was positives and negatives. So we just need to power forth and get through this in one piece, man.
I totally agree with you. I mean, like you just said, we went through two world wars, a Great Depression, and many recessions in between. And 18
Sure.
months from now, we will look back and remember the coronavirus and talk about it over a glass of wine, like we do about. I was stuck in South Africa for 8 weeks with ash cloud, and we all thought we're never going to fly again. I don't know if
Yeah.
people even remember that.
And well, to make it even more interesting, I mean, in South Africa, I mean, our country has overcome so much issues in the past already, and we're overcoming issues on a daily basis in South Africa. I mean, we've got challenges that most other countries don't have.
That's also true. Yeah.
Poverty, challenging race relations, whatever the issue is, but South Africans are resilient, and in general, South Africans are good people, man, and we'll get through this.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, but just tell us a bit about yourself and how you became involved with the restaurant industry.
Sure. So I was born in the Cape, but I grew up in the north, Pietersburg, Polokwane, Witbank, and Nelspruit, longest in Nelspruit. And while I was at school in Nelspruit, I started taking a subject called hotel and catering, one of the first schools in the country that offered it as a school subject. My father was an old school bank manager. So in my matric year, or my son at 9, we were sent back to the Cape. From Nelspruit, and they didn't have the school subject at school level. I always wanted to be a chef. I knew that from young that was what I was going to do, and my parents agreed to enroll me in a college in Cape Town, and so I left school and started at 9. I completed a 7-month course with them, which wasn't a great course, but I finished it, and that was it, man. My first job was at the Royal Hotel in Ruby Castile many years ago, and then I moved to London. And I worked in some great restaurants there. And then I came back to South Africa, and then my South African career started. My first job was at Arabella, the old hotel close to Manus. I opened up the spot of the marketing team, and then I left there and I started my first business. So I was quite young. I was 25, 26 when I started my first business, a little catering operation in Somerset West. And that then grew into Overture, and that grew, and I've always sort of had this love for restaurants. I think restaurants are places with lots of life and laughs and so on. And we opened up Overture, and then from there on things grew. So at the moment it's Overture, Eike, Spek Bone, the Vrije Burger, and then a few other things that I've got involvement in. So it's quite cool, man. But essentially, I'm a chef. That's my main job, and then on the side, I've also, I call it the empire, but I also have obviously a keen interest in businesses and running businesses and being an entrepreneur.
Well, that's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, a place like London, they didn't have the food culture. The French, when they opened restaurants, and then the whole world, London embraced it, and then the whole world started learning in London, right?
Yeah, and well, London still, myself and Marley are lucky that we've traveled to London together quite often and independently, and it's still my favorite city in the world. I always say to people, I feel at home in 3 places in the world. I feel at home in Stellenbosch, in the Cape. I feel at home in Nelspruit because I grew up there, and I feel at home in London. There's a sense of familiarity when I get there. I love the restaurants. I love the chefs. I love I just love the whole food scene in the UK. I think it's really engaging and cool.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing city. So London's always been very kind to me.
So you just mentioned you have your footprint in the winelands, which is quite big. Is there anything more that you can tell us about the restaurants? I mean, our listeners would like to hear. I mean, you started out.
Sure.
Your flagship is Overture, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So I think people are always quite intrigued with why I've always changed my restaurants quite often. And people are always sort of intrigued why. But I believe in evolution and not revolution. So things that are revolutionary only last for revolutions are short lived, but evolution can last forever. So we've over years we've always changed sort of what we do and how we approach it. And we've come to this point now where we're more South African than ever. I think that's quite cool. Um, but each of our restaurants, and people often ask me why do I do them in different things, because they each speak to a different part of me. So Spek Bone, for example, is a small plate and wine bar with loud music, and I love eating in that way and sharing food. I also love big bold flavors. I love great wine lists, and I love loud music. So that's why we built Spek Bone. I also have an affection for takeaway food, so fast food burgers and pizzas and stuff, and that's where the Vrije Burger was born. Eike speaks purely to me from a nostalgic South African space, and Overture, is very focused on South African produce, and each one of those things speak to me individually from a different in a different way. And the teams that work in them take it on. So we're very lucky to have some great chefs that help us run our restaurants, and the head chef at Overture and the head chef at Eike, Kyle, and their teams do a great job. So so Stellenbosch has been good to us. We enjoy working in Stellenbosch, and we also have quite a serious catering operation called Abundance, which is run by a good friend of mine and an ex-employee, Adele Gregoire, which she worked for the Empire for 10 years. And we built this business together with her. So we keep ourselves busy and off the streets under normal circumstances.
Well, there you go. So you've also been a host and a judge on several television shows. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I think this first show that I did was The Ultimate Brine Master. And I did 4 seasons of the show. And the show takes you sort of on a journey around South Africa. And I think I can really thank that show for showing me. I mean, I was lucky to grow up in a home where we travel South Africa, with most of my folks and stuff. But to be able to drive, 12 or 13,000 kilometers around South Africa in like a 2-month period is just incredible. And it really taught me a lot about being South African and the diversity of our country. And so I did 4 seasons of that show with Justin Benello. And then I've done a few shows for Via. I think the most notable one was probably my own show called Vrije Burger. We did 3 seasons, if I remember correctly, 2 or 3 seasons of Vrije Burger. I can't even remember. So I enjoy TV work. It's always quite cool to do, and it just exposes you to a different world. I mean, I always think that the world of the lives of cameramen and sound guys and producers is very similar to restaurateurs and chefs. We work all hours. We make magic happen with limited resources. They're quite very creative, and it's one of the few industries that you can sort of start working on a camera on a film set as a runner, and end up being the director of photography 5 years later, because you work your way up. And the same thing happens in kitchens and in restaurants. So I've grown great affection for the film industry over time.
Interesting, because in a restaurant you get immediate feedback. Can immediately see the food and whether your customer enjoys it or not. Whereas in the television or the movie industry, you can spend a year making a movie and then you get feedback afterwards and nobody likes it. So your feedback loop is a bit slower.
Yeah, it is, but I think it's still a process. The sort of like, I mean, Brine Master was fun. It was a big crew. It was like, I think 80 people on the road, just a crew.
Wow.
And that organism moving through South Africa is quite cool. It's amazing to be part of it. And I really enjoyed my time on that show, and it was good fun. But unfortunately, I had to stop doing it because I just got too busy doing with restaurants. And our primary business is still running restaurants. It's not making TV shows.
Yeah. Could you share a bit about your cookbooks and your pantry products that you sell?
Of course. So we've scaled back on the pantry products a little bit. Again, the restaurants sort of take priority. I wrote the first book a few years ago called Homegrown, and it was really a great effort. A friend of mine, Russell Wasserfall, who's a crack photographer and writer, sort of convinced me there was time to do a book. He helped me with the writing. We had a great photographer, Clegg Gunn, on board, and a stylist called Roxy Spears. And it was our first effort. And I never wanted to do chefy books. I don't want to intimidate people through food. And food for me should be relatively simple, especially if you want to encourage people at home to cook it. So the books all the recipes were aimed at keeping it simple and focused, and making sure you can get inspiration from the recipes, or at least follow part or the full recipe at home. Ingredients that are easy to find. Recipes should never span over pages. A recipe is a single page entity in my head. We assembled the same theme for the second book called Vrije Burtus Basson. The first book was much more focused on sort of South African nostalgic dining, and the second book a little bit more on our lives and restaurants and those sort of things. But it was wonderful, and obviously my wife Marley did a great deal of work with the books, and she's really encouraged me. I'd come home after a long day in the restaurants, and I had no interest in writing anything, and she would sort of force my hand and type while I talked. And it was quite cool. So she's always been very encouraging with those sort of projects, and helping me make dreams become reality.
So talking about that, Bertus, your cooking philosophy, how would you sum that up?
Well, I think there's a few things. So the first is definitely be true to who you are, so be authentic, and in my case, it's being South African. And it is who I am. And we in South Africa, what excites me about South Africa and being South African is that we're one nation, but we have several different cultural backgrounds in South Africa, and it's not a point of difference; it's actually a point of celebration. So the fact that I'm Afrikaans out that grew up in Nelspruit shaped the way that I view food and that I cook. But as a South African, I'm so stoked that I can celebrate other people's and other cultural cuisines under the one flag of being South African. So I can eat Indian food and feel quite at home. I can go to the Boerkaap and have an amazing meal and think, it's part of who I am. African food, indigenous ingredients. So that's like the first thing is be who you are. I think the second thing that's extremely important to me is produce. So you're only as good as the products that you use, and we choose to focus on local suppliers. So the bulk of our produce is locally farmed, fished, hunted, sourced, and you won't find salmon on any of our menus that's imported from Norway, like any of that sort of nonsense. It's all just about local and fresh. And then I think the last thing that's important to me is seasonality. So you won't find strawberries in our kitchens in the middle of winter. We really try and keep things to be of food and cooking to be as seasonal as possible. So I think it's those sort of three things. It's about being authentic, being true to you are, great ingredients, and then being seasonal. And in all of our kitchens, there's these little signs up that says balance, intention, and I forgot it. What the last thing is. But it's quite important for us to sort of like always be balanced. Everything we do is intentional as well. It's balance and intention is very important.
Just a quick interruption, but I do need to remind you that we are currently in a very difficult time. The South African government has set up a fund where businesses and individuals can donate to support our country through this crisis. Go to the website now and add your small donation. www.solidarityfund.co.za. Please join us all in the fight against COVID-19. That is at www.solidarityfund.co.za. Now, let's get on with the show. When you're looking at a chef today to be successful, what important traits should a chef have, and what would your advice be to young chefs today?
So look, it's not an easy industry to enter into, but it's very rewarding. So you've got to be able to be adaptable, I suppose. But chefs today, chefs aren't just chefs, and as in so many careers, we cook food, but we also need to run a business, that's cost effective and profitable. You've got to look after staff. We've got a very high sort of amount of staff. So I just want to go back again. All the signs in our kitchen say balance, presence, and intention. Because if you're present, if you're present in the moment, it means that you are here and focus on what you do. Obviously, you do everything with intent, and balance means that it's not just a plate of balanced food, but as a person, you also have to be balanced. So balance, presence, and intention. See, I've been out of the kitchens for 5 weeks now. I forget my own stuff, my own preaching. It is a rewarding career, but it's a tough industry, and it's not just tough because it's tough working for chefs. I mean, I'm quite a tough guy to work for, but it's because I need things to be right. We have to have, and even in saying that, we don't get everything right, and we do make mistakes. So you've got to have the sort of mindset that it's not about me really. It's about how do I make my guests easy, or how do I make my guests happy, and how do I get my business to function correctly. For young chefs to enter the industry, before you enter the industry, I would really strongly suggest, before you pay the deposit on your cookery school to learn how to cook, is go spend a month in a professional kitchen with a good chef, and then after that decide if you want to do it. It is long hours, and it is stressful, and it's all the sort of things that people make it out to be. But if you survive all of that, it's extremely rewarding, and you can travel the world through food. You meet amazing people. If you truly enjoy food and cooking, this will be for you. Kitchens and restaurants, it's a very different culture. It's not an office job. If you enjoy restaurant culture and food culture, it's almost like a subspecies culture, like a subculture of its own. Because we understand the hours we keep, and we understand the pressures that people are under, and it's cool. So enter the industry, but know that it will be extremely rewarding if you can stick it out. And then I think young chefs don't give themselves enough time to develop. So they start in the industry, for the first couple of years, the pay is quite shit and the hours are long. And then they go, my friends are making so much more money, and they all become accountants. But the reality is that if you give yourself enough time to develop, to become a good cook takes 10 years. To become a good businessman takes even longer. So give yourself time to develop. Success doesn't come overnight, You're not going to leave cookery school knowing everything. Nobody leaves university knowing exactly how to be a CA or how to be a doctor. you learn a lot of things, when you enter the industry. So give yourself and allow yourself enough time to really learn your trade well, and then apply it as best as you can.
Excellent advice. Talking about another subculture, I have to ask you about wine. What is your favorite?
So I'll be hard pressed to give you a favorite wine producer. However, varietals. I drink a lot more white wine than red wine. I love Riesling. I love Chenin and Chardonnay. I'm a big Chenin drinker. I'm a big supporter of South African Chenin. And then I like sort of a lot lighter, more elegant red wine. So I love Grenache, Cinsault, Pinot Noir. That would be my favorites. And then we've got so many friends in the wine industry that just make amazing wines. And I think South African winemakers are just doing an incredible job at producing a world-class product that we can be so proud of. And to drink wine in South Africa is actually quite a joy, because it's not expensive. Yes, you can buy very expensive wines here that are produced here, but in general, if you go bang for buck, quality versus quality toe to toe, South African wines really show so much. It's an amazing. We have an amazing wine industry, very lively, very vibrant.
So I hear that a lot from overseas visitors, that they say, our wines have good quality, and, they enjoy quality wines here. And I think the reason is they really can't afford a good bottle of quality wine in their own country, whereas a good quality wine in South Africa for a European visitor is quite affordable.
And I think an interesting one for me is, like, I really struggle drinking wine in Europe, especially in France, because I don't understand the appellations. And I by no means am I a wine expert. I really am a wine lover. I really enjoy drinking wine. So when I travel to Europe, it's difficult for us to choose bottles. And in South Africa, we used to drink wine by varietal. So we drink Chenin and Chardonnay, and like it sort of becomes a bit easier. But I also think that even in restaurants, I mean, I was in London last year, and I went to a really cool restaurant, and I struggled again with the wine list. The list was predominantly French, and I quickly Googled a wine at the table, and the wine was on the list, I think, for £80, and you could buy it at a local supermarket for £14. And, that's quite a stiff markup.
Yeah.
In restaurants in South Africa in general, our markups are also quite thin. And it's because we realize that we are a wine producing country. But wine lists in restaurants are also quite important to me. So I love a great wine list. If I go to a restaurant and the wine list is shit, I'm sort of like over the experience before I start eating, because if a restaurateur doesn't invest in the list, he won't invest in his kitchen. Like that's sort of always my theory. So, and it excites me greatly to go to restaurants and you can open the wine list, and it doesn't have to be a big wine list. It's a small focus list and handpicked producers. And you can see that they focus on the wine list, and you can then usually expect a better meal, because if people are wine focused, they usually are also food focused, because they're focused on the guest experience. How do you experience the wine list, and how would you experience the cooking?
Oh, that's awesome. So, Bertus, the whole coronavirus are forcing all of us to rethink our business model, and having time to maybe sit and plan a little bit and something like that. Have any? I mean, you've been almost you're actually in more than one industry. You're almost with one foot in the media industry as well. But have you had any changes or new ideas in mind?
Yes, of course. So we actually in the first week, myself and Marley already brainstormed sort of where we are and where we think we're going to end up in the future. And the reality is that the restaurants that we closed are not going to be the restaurants that we reopen when we reopen. We're not sure about reopening yet. So I think from a restaurant perspective, we decided to run smaller menus in all of our restaurants. Eike, for example, which used to be a dinner-only restaurant, so only open at night, and it was quite a long menu. We're going to open for lunch as well, and we're going to shorten the menu so that, and also obviously charge less for the experience, but so that people can actually afford it, because also the Africans will struggle after this financially. But what we would like to achieve, and what we are going to achieve, is that we are going to offer great experiences at great value. And it will still be about the experience. It'll still be about a guest coming to you, to have a wonderful experience. Restaurants are like escapism. If you have a great experience in a wonderful restaurant, you could have been away for a whole week on holiday, but you had a great evening out with amazing wine, delicious food, and good service. And we still need to offer those experiences to our guests so that they can escape the daily grind. So we are going to offer great experiences at better value. Or at reassessed value, I think would be the correct term. And that would be in the long term when we can open up our restaurants. And we're very excited about this, because every time you're sort of forced to change the way that you look at something, 9 times out of 10, there will be a positive outcome. So we're very positive about what is the end result going to be. So it's going to breed a new level of creativity. We're going to have to think a bit differently. We're going to have to dig a bit deeper and find more exciting ingredients in South Africa for people to enjoy with us. So that's quite cool. The immediate change for us, which will hopefully happen when we scale down from level 5 to level 4 in the lockdown, is that we will be able to open up delivery services. We already geared for that with 1 or 2 things. We thought about this also before we closed. So we'll be able to work with small teams in the restaurants, and we'll be doing something from Overture, something from Eike, and then the Vrije Burger will obviously open up as well, all on delivery models, and then we'll see how it goes. That sort of is unexplored territory for us, but we're excited to explore it.
Well, that's interesting, right? At least it's at the start of some business, and I think everybody's saying the first thing they're going to do is order some hot food. So there you go. I mean, and I think the local tourism industry is going to have a bit of a boom. We might not have international tourism, but people will have what they call staycations in the near future, because everyone wants to have a vacation after this trauma they're having. So yeah.
Yeah, I fully agree. Well, I fully agree.
What is the most important thing that you've learned in your food journey?
I've learned lots of lessons. Because I don't have any formal qualifications, I usually pay school fees for my mistakes. So I think the most important thing for me up to date has been that we can't do what we can do, what we do with our people. That's our first thing. So we, whether it be guests or team, people is a very important part of our business. And then I think that the biggest thing for me is that you can't be everything for everybody, or else you'll end up being nothing to nobody. So you've got to stick to your guns and be who you are unapologetically. That's what if you're lucky, you've got 80 years on this planet to do what you want to do, and that's if you're very lucky. So I want to use the time as best I can to do the things that I would like to do, and that is cook delicious food and have and run great restaurants.
Oh, that's awesome. So I have to press you. Can you give us a good wine quote, or well, you can cheat. You can give us a food quote as well.
Oh,
If you
sure.
want to.
Any wine quotes.
Well, do you have a favorite one, or can you invent one for us?
Yeah, sure. I just, sure. If I think about wine, I'm looking over at Marley. A wine quote, babe. Anything in your head? No, no. We, if I can relate it to South Africa, it won't be a full-on quote, but the same would go for South African wines and South African winemakers. Is be who you are unapologetically. Keep on doing what you're doing. The fact that South African wines have become so much better in the last 10 years is testament to great skill and dedication from the industry. And I know the wine industry is going to feel this pinch as much as we are. We're all going to feel it together. But we are in this boat together, and there's nothing we can do about it. But we'll get out the other end in one piece, hopefully together.
I think togetherness is a big, and people is a big thread that I see in whatever you're saying. And it also seems that you and your partner, Marley, are on the same page. How important is that as part of your success?
Yes, it's amazing. So I had a late start in my personal life. So I only met Marley when I was in my mid-30s. Got married at a little bit later in the second half of 30. My first kid arrived at 38. The second one is sort of on the way at the moment, and we got married I think 6 years ago. And we really since Marley's has been part of our business. I mean, she's very different to me. So Marley's a chartered accountant, and she left her full-time employment after we got married and started helping me in the empire. Firstly as just an accountant, but then slowly she started taking over different roles. Helping me with social media, planning, decorating restaurants, whatever. And Marley's a wonderful springboard for me for advice, because the opinion is different to mine, and that's fantastic. But the results that we want is the same. So we want to deal with cool people, and we want to have happy guests in our restaurants. So having Marley by my side has been a complete blessing. I think since Marley joined the party, we've really managed to probably triple our business. When I met Marley, I had one restaurant, and so that sort of gives you an idea of what we've been getting up to. And she also indulges all my stupid ideas, and she'll say to me, if she doesn't believe that something is a great idea, she'll just call me out and say, I think it's a bad idea, And you also need that. So you need someone who can say to you, look, that's a great idea. Let's pursue that. Or that's not such a great idea. I think let's park that train of thought where it is and move on to the next thing. Because somebody has to call out your bullshit at some stage. I think that's just the way it is.
The beauty is if it's somebody that you can trust, right?
Yeah. And you can't always believe your own hype, or your own nonsense. So I think that's had a profound effect on our businesses and on our lives together. So Marley is as dedicated to running great restaurants as I am. Her role is just different to mine. So I would be worried about making sure that the fish is great quality, and that the chefs are quick enough in the kitchen. Marley's stressing about different things. She's stressing about ambiance and aesthetics and social media and the other part of our business that is really important.
Oh, that's awesome. Bertus, it's been a pleasure. If people want to get hold of you, how did they get hold of your, how did they get to know more?
If anybody needs to get hold of us for any reason, so I must say before we go, Will, that during this time we started running a little soup kitchen in Jamestown where we live in Stellenbosch, and we've just moved the operation to Eike, which is our restaurant in the middle of town. Okay. We've got a small team of volunteers together, and we cook soup for between 150 and 200 people from Eike every day. So if anybody wants to get hold of us to either help with this initiative or just talk about business or just wants to get in touch for anything or just catch up, make a donation towards soup kitchens, because we're going to expand this operation hopefully to other needy communities, or other communities in need in the Stellenbosch area. Please pop me a mail to bertus@bertusbasson.com. Just remember the .com at the end is not a .coza, so it's very simple. It's bertus@bertusbasson.com, or you can go visit www.bertusbasson.com, and there's a little bit of there's quite a bit of contact details on the website, so just go take a look at what we get up to, and we hope to see everybody soon for either the Vrije Burger or an amazing Eike meal.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, I'll put all the links and stuff in the descriptions of everything, so people can get hold of you. But Bertus, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for spending the time. I know you're busy, and enjoy the rest of your time at home, and good luck with everything. We think about everybody in this industry at this time. I know it's difficult, but you guys seem to have your hand on things. So thank you very, very much.
What you want, you can say, well, you seem to have your shit together. It's okay. Look, we stress as much as everybody else, but we're going to try and keep as calm as possible to get through this in one piece.
All right, Bertus, have a nice one. Ciao, ciao.
Thanks, well, you too. Bye-bye.
Thank you for supporting our show. If you would like to get more exposure for your business, please have a look at our sponsorship options. Thanks again for supporting About the Winelands. Please follow us on YouTube and on our social media channels. All details and links are in the description.